What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video party. I'm so excited to upload this one for you guys because for this video we'll be taking a look at probably one of the best television shows of all time, The Last of Us. That may be a bit of a bold statement, but never before have I felt such an emotional impact of loss and struggle told in an episodic storytelling, because after almost every single episode I had to wipe away several tears because damn, there are some moments that just make you cry, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Anyway, this show is a live-action adaptation of the popular PlayStation video game that came out back in 2013 and tells the story of a cross-country road trip set during the zombie apocalypse, where you follow two characters who are almost complete polar opposites of one another, but actually rely on one another to survive in this world. And when I first heard this game was going to be developed into live action, one of the things that made me see potential in this project was that it was going to be made into a television show rather than a movie, which is good because when you look at the story of the game, you can see how it would be very hard to shrink a 14-hour story into a 2.5-hour movie. But by having it be a television show, you can expand upon it and allow some breathing room and not have everything be rushed. Another thing that made me see even more potential was that this was going to be developed by HBO, which is great because when you look at their resume, you got shows like Chernobyl and Game of Thrones, which means that they're going to be hiring the best showrunners, the best writers, the best directors in order to helm this project. So you know this show is going to be top tier. Which leads me to the final piece of the puzzle, where you have the showrunners of Chernobyl working together with the creator of The Last of Us video game, which ultimately sealed the deal because after watching Chernobyl, holy crap, that is one of the most tense shows I have ever watched in my life. So to see that these guys are going to be working with the guy who made the video game, I already knew that this show was going to be pretty good. However, I had no idea that this was going to be a phenomenal piece of storytelling. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about the story. So like I said, this show is a live action adaptation of the video game, and right off the bat, you already see how this show is in fact an adaptation, because right from the beginning, you sort of see the origin story as to how zombie apocalypse started, which is crazy because you don't really see that in the video game. And this is where the term adaptation comes into play, because in the world of movies and television shows, whenever someone wants to make an adaptation of a well-known project, that not only means you have to stick close to the source material, but that also allows you to take certain liberties in order to make the story good in the media you're trying to present it in. And sometimes that means cutting certain moments out or even adding new stuff in order to make the story better, which is what we see at the beginning of this first episode. Now, although I am a fan of the video game, I actually didn't play it because I don't have a PlayStation. I'm more of an Xbox guy, so I watched a 14-hour cut of the video game on YouTube. So I'm in a very rare position because I know what happens in the game, but still, watching the show, it was pretty much mind-blowing to see how some shots are almost recreations of certain scenes in the video game, because the first episode pretty much recreates the first moments of the game, which has just been burned into my memory because holy crap, the opening of the game is insane. Because in the game, the story already hits the ground running with the zombie apocalypse already starting as you are on the edge of your seat holding onto your controller as you're watching the madness unfold in front of you. Now when you look at the TV show, the story starts things off on a very calm and subtle level. But if you really pay attention to what's happening in the background of our characters, you can see how the story is setting you up for the zombie apocalypse. And when it starts, holy crap, this is a wild ride as you are already invested into several characters before some very bad things happen. Which is where we meet our two main characters, Joel and Ellie, who are two very different people but really do rely on each other in this broken world. Because when you realize that the majority of this show involves these two characters taking a cross-country road trip from Boston to Salt Lake City by car, on horse, and on foot, you begin to see that these two characters really do need each other. When you look at Joel, you see that he is someone who has experienced an unbelievable loss and has never really healed from that. And as you progress through the show, you begin to see the losses that he is going through are just continuing to pile on top of one another. But what's ultimately keeping him together is this little girl who is not only his chance of redeeming himself from all the terrible things that he has done in the past, but it's also the cure to mending the wound that has never really healed. Now, when you look at Ellie, at first we think, okay, she's just a kid. Clearly, she needs an adult to help her on her journey, which is true, but when you look at the relationship she has with Joel, it is something more, as she really does need a sort of father figure to help teach her on how to survive in this crazy, messed up world. And when she's with Joel, she's also given a chance to finally act like a kid. And obviously, Pedro Pascal and Belle Ramsey knock it out of the park, as they were perfectly casted in these roles. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them, if not both of them, get an Emmy for Best Leading Performance. Because when you look at Bella Ramsey's performance as Ellie, you can see the childlike nature of the character before she's able to flip the switch and show you that she can go from innocent kid to stone cold killer. And when you look at Pedro Pascal, this is obviously his year, because not only does he have shows like Game of Thrones and Narcos under his belt, but he's also got The Mandalorian and The Last of Us. And when you watch his performance in the show, you can see how he embodies the character of Joel and shows you that pain and suffering can mold a person. Damn, now I really do hope that this show does get some award recognition, because every episode was pretty much an emotional roller coaster. Episode 1, amazing start, as it is identical to the video game and shows you the harsh reality of loss. Episode 2, a wild rush, as it reminds you that this is a show that is set during the zombie apocalypse. Episode 3, unbelievably beautiful, as the story decides to stretch its legs and try new things by showing us that even love can endure in a broken world, that ultimately had me crying at the end of it. Episode 4, a really good episode that shows you that removing someone from power ultimately leaves a hole for someone much worse to fill in. Episode 5, a terrific episode with action, horror, and also an emotional, gut-wrenching moment that just has everyone looking around going, holy crap, did that just happen? Episode 6, a much needed victory after all the losses that we've been going through. Episode 7, a nice little story about growing up in the apocalypse. Episode 8, a wild ride that shows you that this story is starting to go from a Joel and Ellie story to an Ellie and Joel story. And finally, episode 9, a terrific ending for season 1. Wait, what? Yes, that is right, because not too long ago it was announced that season 2 was finally greenlit and was going to adapt the sequel to the game, The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I know there are some fans out there who have some very harsh opinions of the video game. I, on the other hand, saw this as practically one of the best revenge stories I have ever heard, as it is ugly, brutal, gut-wrenching, and shows you the harsh reality of the price you pay for the blood you seek, and I loved it. Which is why I cannot wait to see who they're going to cast as Abby, because they're going to need someone who can act opposite of Bella Ramsey. That's already a tall order in and of itself, because that actress is also going to need to show everyone that one bad day can send someone's life into a downward spiral. That actress is also going to need to have some thick skin and deal with a lot of angry fans, because Abby does a very bad thing to Ellie in the game. And I can already see the fans of the video game just getting themselves ready to experience it all over again, while the fans of the TV show have no idea of what's coming. Damn, I cannot wait for part 2. So overall, I really loved this season, as it shows you that even though you may be going through a difficult time, sometimes the cure to that sadness can come from anyone. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. That was my overall view on The Last of Us. If you like what you saw, click the subscribe button so you know it's updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.